Hi, welcome to the ACC's Gentle Yoga at Noontime. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour. We have a full room today, but I'm hoping we can all kind of enjoy this. This is the great part of being in class, is having all our bodies kind of working towards the same endeavor, the same goal. But even you out there in the internet spaces, you can enjoy that too. So hopefully we'll all just feel a little better after class. What we're going to do is kind of a continuation of what we've been doing for the last few weeks, just major hip openers, shoulder joint openers, ankles, and we're just going to get those major muscle groups going with our typical warm-up in the morning, at the beginning of the practice, and moving into that modified walking meditation, our version of our sun salutations. So let's go ahead and meet at the back of the mat. Going to start the music. The chair is here for the benefit of a standing pose as well. So have a chair nearby if you have issues with balance as we're doing our standing pose. And that's about all I can think of for now. And as you're at the back of the mat, you don't have to change the quality of your breath. But just notice how you're arriving. Feel the mat under the feet. Notice if you have tight legs, if a slight bend to the knees will help you with that tightness at the back of the legs. And standing in our mountain, feet are underneath our hips. And wherever your tailbone is, just be mindful of how you're standing. And just quieting down. You might even feel the heart beating in the chest. And as we settle in, let's go ahead and bring our left palm to rest on the chest, right palm under the belly button. We'll start to begin our cultivation of our yogic breath. Start to breathe inward through the nose. You might have a brief pause before you start your exhale through the nose. And as you're breathing in and out, with those pauses in between, one full breath cycle. You might feel the hand on the chest lift with each inhale, ribcage expanding outwards, the top of the inhale, maybe even the collarbones lift. That's a brief pause before the slow exhale finds the belly slowly compressing at the bottom of the exhale, drawing the belly button in towards the spine. Feel a little more rooted at the feet. And we'll finish our yogic breath by cultivating the sound of the ocean at the back of the throat. Make that space nice and wide, like you're fogging a mirror on both the inhale and the exhale. And at this point, connected to our yogic breath, that ocean-like breath, let's go ahead and bring our hands down to the side. Make them nice and relaxed. Reset your mountain, the feet if you need to. Roll the heel to toe. And then come on with a center of gravity somewhere above the ankles. We're going to inhale. Start to press down through the soles of the feet. Lengthen through the legs. Feel an energy entering from the feet, up the legs, up the back, through to the crown of the head and beyond. On the exhale, feel that energy reverse course back down the body, back down to the mat. Palms facing forward. Let's go ahead and inhale. Start to tip the weight at the feet towards the toes. We're changing that center of gravity towards the toes until it's almost tipping point. Then use the next breath and slowly roll that center of gravity. Feel it moving all the way to the heels. Then hopefully you're ready for the next breath to go back towards the toes. Just a couple of breath cycles. See if you can feel that heel to toe alignment changing, the center of gravity there. resting finally at home, somewhere above the ankles, nearer to the heels. Dip on in to your mountain, reset it, feel a little lengthier, a little taller with each return. And as we're lifting all the way up, feel the crown of the head lift. So all we have to do is exhale, roll the weight at the outer right edge of your feet. Body is nice and long. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, back to center. Exhale to the other side. Try to keep the legs nice and long. We're just rolling at the soles of the feet here. And we're going to do a few breath cycles, just like this. Inhaling to the center, exhaling to either side, using a 3-part breath. You're also welcome to just breathe from one side to the other and use a 2-part breath. But just get that horizontal mapping at the soles of the feet, and we'll meet right back at center, above the arches, somewhere near to the heels. You can always bend the knees, lift the toes, roll up the heels, reset the soles of the feet if you need, and then come on back to our mountain. And this time, as we're inhaling, really feel if you can lengthen through the legs. Internally rotate those thighs, press down on all points of the soles of the feet. Energy lifting up through the body, all the way up through to the crown of the head and beyond, so that all we need to do is start making small circles with that nice taut body at about the ankles. We're just moving slowly in one direction. Imagine those circles radiating from the ankle to the perimeter of the feet. And once you find the perimeter of the feet, go ahead and tighten in the circles. You might have to do some things with the arms as your center of gravity is challenged, and we'll come right back down like water going down a drain. Back to our original mountain, reset once more, a little longer, a little taller. And as we're still lifting up at the crown of the head, nice and tall, we make small circles in the opposite direction, just like we did before, at the ankles, radiating outwards towards the edge of the feet. Once that's identified, make your way back towards the ankles, and settle back into your mountain once more and release that. Do what you need to do. If you still have residual activation of muscles in that last pose, go ahead and release and then reset the mountain once more. We're moving on up the body. So now we're going to start shifting the weight from side to side. And as you feel more of the weight shifting to one side, you can lift the ball of the feet, the toes, start to shift outwards a little bit if you need to. Just kind of bringing out the toes a little bit. We're basically starting to make that momentum shift from side to side and then start to swivel as you get more of that momentum up to the upper body. And as you go more to one side with the torso, make sure the toes lift on that same side of the body. We don't want to torque out the knee. And as you're getting more of that kind of like a ringing action between the torso and the pelvis, your arms are hopefully just swinging with the motion of that momentum. And then you can slow down, peter out that momentum, come back to mountain, bring the stance of the feet directly under the hips once more. And we'll move on up to the shoulders. Give yourself any realignment in our mountain, bend your knees deeply if you need, and then reset the bottom. See if you can get like a 1-foot square box at the feet, lengthening the legs, gentle tuck of the tailbone. If you feel a lot of the pelvic tilt at the front and the tailbone sticking out when you're first standing, we're trying to tuck under the tailbone as we're lengthening through the legs and lengthening upwards. The chest is almost leading upwards, so we're getting more of the joints of the shoulder, hips, ankles, knees and ankles to stack one on top of the other. We're moving to the shoulders now, so let's go ahead and bring the palms to face forward. Inhale, shoulders are raised upwards, and then exhale, roll them back and down. Fully exhaled here, draw the belly button to the spine. Inhale, up goes the shoulders. Exhale, roll them back, and let them melt, relax down the back. That's 2. Let's go for a total of 4 of these breath cycles to help us feel some release in our shoulders. Inhaling up, exhaling, rolling them back and down. We're doing another set. Still, we're going to inhale the shoulders up, but this time roll them forward on the exhale. Still let them melt down the back if you can. And a total of 4 breath cycles here. So you can get that ocean breath to really help facilitate the release. And after the very last one, we'll go ahead and move on up to the throat and the head. Reset your mountain if you need to. Notice if the legs are really just aggressively holding on to that. Try to release and come back. Use only those muscles you need to start stacking upwards towards the shoulders all the way down in one nice column of support. And imagine again that string at the crown of the head lifting upwards, inhaling, engaging the core, and then exhaling, just letting the right earlobe drop towards the right shoulder. Both shoulders are still in line, so if your left shoulder lifted up, bring it on down with the exhale. But we're hopefully, with the next breath cycle, just turning the gaze on the exhale. With each inhale and exhale, trying to facilitate a release from the left side of the neck all the way down. Inhaling should bring in energy, lifting maybe even the sternum. The exhale, that slow, controlled release, engaged core. Hopefully releasing those tight muscles in the neck on this left side. And the eyes are just resting on the right-hand side, but maybe by that very last breath cycle, exhale, you might be resting the eyes on the right shoulder, maybe the floor behind the right shoulder. And then we can inhale, bring the eyes, the gaze. The crown of the head is lifting completely at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale, let the left ear dip towards the left shoulder. Keep these main joints in line. And as you inhale up, exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't already. Use the total of 4 breath cycles here, finding release on the right side of the neck, maybe even in the eyes by that very last exhale. I believe the eyes, possibly the nose, are two of the sense organs that have direct connection to the brain. So just releasing it with your gaze might help any migraines, any tension there. Let's go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting completely at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Slowly let the eyes float downward, resting somewhere about 6 feet in front of you at the top of the mat. We still have length to the back of the neck and about a small tennis ball size space between the chin and the chest. We're not resting the chin on the chest, lots of space. As we inhale, we may feel this slight diagonal tilt at the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, we're still a nice strong column of support from the shoulders down. Make sure you're not locking out your knees, just stacking those joints in a total of 4 breath cycles here as well. After that very last exhale, we can inhale, the eyes come up to the midline, past the midline, and as we're rolling the eyes upwards, we're going to stop rolling the eyes once we can see generally above us. We don't want to crane the back of the neck. So inhaling here, for the next 4 breath cycles, we're just finding release in the throat, in the mouth, maybe even that furrow between the brow. But looking somewhat above you, see if a small O opening at the mouth to a larger O opening helps release tension. Maybe that gentle sway of the lower jaw from side to side. And if you yawn or breathe deeply, that's a good sign you're engaging your parasympathetic nervous system to help you release. After that last breath, let's go ahead and bring the eyes back down to the midline. And as we're back here in our mountain, our home base, go ahead and shake out any residual tension. Sometimes it's in my wrists, sometimes it's in the feet. If you have a tendency to grip the mat, lift up the feet, wiggle the toes, bounce the knees in case you have a tendency to lock out your knees as well. And then we'll move into our folds. We're beginning our walking meditation. So standing in our mountain, just reiterating that taller, longer, stronger mountain with each return. We're going to reach downward with our fingers. We're really energizing the fingers downwards. And then extend the arms upwards with the inhale. We're still reaching while we're doing this. At the top, you might even lift up. Exhaling, engage the core, stick out the tailbone, and start to hinge at the hips. You can bend the knees if you need to, and we're just going to fold forward. For some of us halfway down, we might need to walk our hands down. We might have those blocks in our hands. We might have the blocks at our sides here if we have to, but in our first forward fold, it's pretty lengthy, about 5 breath cycles. So we have a lot of time here to kind of unfold. You can have a deep bend to the knees if that helps, but try to feel that hip to heel support. If you start to feel like you're tipping forward, draw that center of gravity back towards the heels. If you feel yourself rolling out to the outer edges or rolling in towards the arches, we really want to try to balance the left to right and top to bottom of our soles of the feet at that foundation there. And if that's good, if that's second nature and set, then you can think about the second part of this, which is basically keeping the tailbone, spine, and neck in one alignment and eventually releasing through that route. Maybe we're holding on to our head. See if you can gently bobble the head from side to side. Yes, to maybe just a little dangling like a plumb line. And eventually that crown of the head may eventually just directly face the floor. And that's where it's just your journey, your practice. So here we're staying about 5 full breath cycles. You can also bend one knee gently and then lengthen it. See if you can lengthen through the leg a little more this time. Then alternate with the other leg as well. And as you've done your little movements to see if you can unfold, lengthen, get a little bit more out of this first ragdoll of a fold, we're going to start to think about coming out. On the inhale, we're pressing into our feet, engaging the thighs, engaging the core, and slowly walking the hands up if we need to bring the spine back into a vertical alignment, one disc at a time. Last thing that stacks is the skull on top of the neck. Gently press forward the hips, pressing into the legs to lengthen. Palms facing forward. Let the blood rush back to your head, and your heart might be beating just a little bit, or maybe not. And then we'll go into our second fold, reaching downward with our arms, engaging that reaching sensation as we inhale, extend the arms up, reach up at the top, maybe our torso lifts up. At the exhale, we're hinging at the hips. Bend the knees if you need, stick the tailbone back, long back, folding, come on down, walk the hands down or float down. Our second fold this time is about 3 breath cycles. Do again another few alternate bend of one knee, bend of the other knee, just to see if you have a little more length this time or a little more depth. Just notice where you are here. It might be just that much of a difference. You might still be just holding forearms to the thighs. Wherever you are, you're making sure that your solid column of support from the hips all the way down to the heels, that's there, and the release of the upper back. And then we'll come out once more. You have a choice this time. That slow roll up once more, or we're coming up with a straight back, but either way, we're inhaling, engaging the core, stepping into the feet, firming the thighs, coming on up one vertebra at a time or with a straight back. And as we come on up, we're reaching up, hands together or just reaching up. And then finally, hands together if you can, down heart center. We'll begin our walking meditation. Shoulders are nice and loose and relaxed. We're bringing standing weight to our left side of the body. You're just shifting that weight. And once you can balance on that left side of the foot, you can lift the right heel. See if you can lift the foot. And then step it down on the exhale, either the heel or the midfoot, ball of foot, toes down. Fully exhaled here. We can find that balance, and then we can lift the left foot. And don't worry if you fall out. It's a slow process, but we're one full breath cycle per step. Engaging the core, engaging the palms, pressing into the palms. One full breath cycle per step once more. And if you fall out, that's okay. Just come back in and do your best. At the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain. Fingertips touching, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. And at the top, and you may be out here as well, separate the palms, engage the core, hinge at the hips, and once more, we're folding into our third fold. And this time, we're going to press into wherever our hands have contact. Maybe it's the blocks, maybe it's our ankles, thighs, wherever. But we just want to lengthen through the legs with a little more focus. Lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head with a little more focus. You might have a 90-degree angle. You might have just your back trying to lengthen at a 45-degree angle. That's okay. Keep that nice length there. And then exhale, return to the fold. And you can keep a bend, start to bring down the butt if you need, bring the hands to the blocks if you need, but we're bringing one foot back, we're bringing both hands to the sides of the feet, and walking our legs back to a high plank for a moment, bringing the shoulders over the wrists with an inhale, and then bringing the shins, untucking the toes, and lifting the knees if we need to settle them. The lower weight is supported by the shins, the tops of the feet. But if that's too difficult for the tops of your feet, you can always kind of tuck the toes as well. We don't want to dump all that weight into our knees though. See if you can get the shins, the tops of the feet, or tuck toes to help support the body. Upper body is supported by these long, strong shoulders and extended arms. And again, you can always bring the shoulders a little back behind you if that 90-degree angle at the wrist is problematic. We stay here for just a little bit more time. Engage your core. Draw that belly button to the spine. Feel that nice length, that hypotenuse from the shins all the way to the crown of the head. And then we're going to inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and exhale, press the hips back into your down dog. You can separate the feet if they're together a little too narrow, but they should be somewhat about hips distance apart, as the hands should be about shoulder width apart. The index and middle fingers pointed towards the top of the mat. And see if you can get the full print of your palm on the mat, even that digit, middle digit part, right underneath the first knuckles. And that'll just help you to distribute some of that weight. We're here for about 3 breath cycles, and we're almost there. So inhaling, we're going to roll our eyes towards the hands, bend the knees deeply, especially if you have tight backs of the hamstrings, backs of the legs, and we're going to walk the hands fully exhaled here at the back of the mat to a fold. Fully exhaled here, we're going to inhale, half lift, and that just means lengthening through the torso, through the legs the best that you can. Use your hands if you need. And then exhale once more back to the fold. Bend the knees if you need. And we're going to come up, your choice, slow roll up or with a strong straight back. But either way, engage the core and inhale. Coming all the way back up, tucking the tailbone under, reaching all the way up. Exhaling hands down heart center. And right here, we're going to move into our second walking meditation. Once more, bringing standing weight to the left side of the body. Inhaling. We lift the right foot. Exhaling, we set it down. Fully exhaled here, balanced. Inhale the left foot up and press into those palms. Engage your core. If you feel a little shaky, a little wobbly, that's okay. Woo. And then inhaling, stepping the other foot up. And it's 1 full breath cycle per step. And do your best. If you fall out, just come on back in. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in our mountain. Pressing into the palms. Inhale. Watch the fingertips rise. At the top, we separate the palms. Engage the core and start to bend at the hips. Hinging at the hips, bending the knees if you need. Fully folded. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees again if you need. Use the blocks if you need. Come on down. Hands to either side of the feet and walk the feet back. And inhale this time, a full high plank. Lengthen through the legs. Bring those shoulders over the wrists. Fingers are splayed. And you're looking down at the mat. And feel that hypotenuse from the heels all the way through the crown of the head, as well as from the heels down to the balls of the feet, and the shoulders down to the hands. Nice and strong. Inhaling, let's lift up the hips. Exhale, let's draw the hips back as we're pressing into those long extended arms. And adjust your down dog. We're here for about 3 breath cycles. Maybe you need deep bends to the knees. Maybe you can lengthen. Maybe you need to adjust the space between the hands and the feet. We're looking for an upside down V, ideally. That energy at the hips, at the tailbone, lifting up as the energy from the tailbone down the arms, down the back, down the arms to the palms. It's one direction downward. And from the tailbone down the thighs, down the calves, down the heels is another direction. So we've got these different points of energy moving. And then we'll go ahead and roll the eyes towards the hands. Bend the knees if you need deeply. Inhaling and then exhale. Walk the hands all the way to the back of the mat to your fold. Fully exhaled here. Half lift inhale. And then exhale back towards the fold. And then engage your core. Step into the feet, engage the thighs, tailbone, and then come all the way back up. Your choice. To standing, hands are up in prayer and rolling on the exhale down, heart center. And then fully releasing, let the hands rest at your sides. And just feel the heart beating in the heart basket. It's a great time for some water now, and we'll conclude that part of the walking meditation. There's, hopefully a little more heat in your body, a little more lubrication in those major joints that we just worked. But now, what we're going to do is move into our balance stage. And so this chair is typically turned the other way around as we do our low lunges. We can use the chair to, kind of support us. But today we're going to do a hip opener while we're standing with the back of the chair as our support or a wall. So if you have an issue with, say, bringing a foot back behind your midline here, imagine where this water bottle is, where your legs are as your midline as we're standing. If you have difficulty just bringing a leg back, and maybe lifting an arm and looking up, having that chair, having the wall next to you, even facing the wall and doing this might be better. So just something to consider. I'm going to have a little bit of water here. And as we're moving into our standing pose, we'll just start with our, our 1 foot mountain. And it's at this point that it's good to kind of revisit where we were standing. We did a lot of movement, we did a lot of release, so hopefully that'll feel different now that we come into our mountain. So I'm not on the mat right now. I'm going to be near the chair soon, but wherever you are, just reset the mountain once more. Feet are about hips distance apart, heel to toe alignment. Notice if your toes are spaying out, if you're pigeon toeing, wherever that support is at the soles of the feet. We should have a better idea of how we're standing and holding our body. One thing to think about is that pelvic tilt once more. Is the tailbone tucking under? Are you able to bring the full hip pelvic area to rest on top of the knees, on underneath the shoulders? So we're just trying to get these major joints in line, especially at this point of our practice. And once we can do that, and we're finding, oh, maybe it feels a little different, maybe there's a little more space, we'll go ahead and raise the arms upwards. And we're going to grab a hold of one wrist. So my right hand is going to get a hold of the left wrist, and I'm going to plant that left foot. It's going to be balanced with the right foot, but I'm going to plant that left foot as I inhale upwards. And then exhale, just slightly bend. It's more at the armpit, getting this nice long stretch without you losing that anchor point of the left foot. So we're not really bending at the hip, at the waist. It's really just allowing this forward movement upwards and then to just come on over until you stop. And it's not usually that much. We'll go ahead and inhale both hands back up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. And then finally, just let them down at the side. You can move the shoulders from side to side this way with the arms and the hands being really nice and loose. Just release from that last pose. We'll reset our mountain once more. Make sure you're not locking out the knees. Inhaling, the arms go up. I reached for the left wrist, so this time I'm going to reach for the right wrist. You can determine which orientation of your left hand goes on the right wrist. But with an inhale, keeping that right foot anchored, we're going to lift up and then just slightly come on over. You're going to feel a nice stretch all the way from that right hip to the fingertips, hopefully. Inhaling, exhaling, engage the core. And then we'll inhale back up. Both arms are reaching. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And once more, release. Do what feels good. You might have a bigger shoulder movement from side to side. You might have the hands swinging up, hands swinging back. And then shaking that all out. Now we're going to move on up to the hand and the back of the chair or the wall, or if you're good with your balance, just stay where you are. But we're going to use that same idea. Standing nice and tall, and I'm about half an inch up on the rug. So we'll move our arms back up and having that just there for a moment. Go ahead and bring the left hand down and either at your side or on the chair if you need. But then we're just going to start bringing that standing weight to the right side of the body. You should have this nice verticality here. Let's start to bring the left foot onto the ball of the foot, just past that midline. It doesn't even have to go that far. If you just have a little bit, like an inch, that's great. If you can move it a full, foot back, that's good too. We want the extension at the left hip while we're still balancing through the right side of our body. And as you're standing here and looking straight up above you, one more inhale, reaching up with the right side of the arm, right side of the body. And then we'll exhale, bring the right arm down, bring the left foot back to standing, and feel balance in both sides of the body once more. You can always shift the weight, lift up the right foot if you need to, because you've activated a lot on this right side, so you might need some counter stretching. And that might be something like bending the knee to kind of get all these stabilizing muscles on the right side of the body to release. It might be holding on to something or just bringing that weight to the opposite leg and letting a gentle kick forward, maybe a gentle outward movement before you cross that midline. And you might feel a little more release out of everything from the right glute all the way down the hamstring, calves, Achilles heel. And then we'll move to the other side. So standing once more in our mountain, wherever we might be for that stability of the wall, the chair, we'll bring both arms back up. And my right arm was up this time, so think about your opposite arm. My right arm is going to go down, lifting up here, and then holding on to wherever you need to, but finding that stability on the left side, and then starting to walk the right toes back behind that midline. May not be much, might be deeper on this side, might not be as deep on this side. Just depends on this side. So giving yourself that spot to find, about 3 to 5 breath cycles to find that sweet spot. We want both hips facing the front. Then we're going to lift up through the sternum. Inhale, exhale, exhale. And then we'll go ahead and bring the left hand down there at your side or to the chair for stability. Bring that right foot forward and then release. Bring balance to both legs. Release that left side of the body if you need to. Kick forward, kick to the side before you kick over. And move slowly. You may have never done this before and maybe it is just much tighter. If it's just great, then it's just great. All right. So as we have gone through that to open up through the hip just a little bit more, now we're going to move on to more of those shoulder stretches that we have been doing lately. So if you have a strap, that's nice. We'll be reaching in back of us. We'll be doing an eagle arm thing as well. So, if you need some sort of support or strap, then go ahead and grab one. So to begin with, coming back to that 1 foot mountain, and I'm just going to leave this strap on around my neck. And heel and toes are in the same direction. We'll go ahead and let our arms just start to swing forward and back. Just get some of that movement going. You might clap in the front, you might clap in the back, but just get some of that movement going. And then we're going to focus and see if we can grab a hold of opposite shoulders. We're just going to see if we can touch first, and then let yourself land on shoulders. And just hold it there. You might, if it's too much to be on the shoulders, you might just reach the upper arms. But just hold it there. Notice which hand is where, on which shoulder. We're going to do the opposite hold. when we return, okay? So we're going to release once more. Just let it kind of swing and see if you can find the opposite hold. And don't worry if it's not. It'll be okay. But you'll start to feel that difference without thinking twice about it. And as we're standing here, I'm going to turn sideways. You may not notice whether or not you're pitched forward, pitched back, but we really want to make sure we're standing nice and tall and straight. And see if you can do just subtle movements in the chin. Just lifting up at the base of the skull, bobbling the ears left and right. Just gentle tuck of the chin, a yes and no answer. Maybe just at the crown of the head, making small circles with the crown of the head. You'll feel a lot of release right there at the base of the skull. We'll go ahead and release the arms and let them swing. You might make some wide circular motions with the elbows and opposite, forward as well. And we'll go ahead and shake that out. And then we're going to do another one, and this time a little higher on the shoulders. You'll see, before we were on the balls of the shoulders. If we couldn't do that, we were on the upper arms. But we're moving up now, and then we're hopefully going to get a hold of the traps, the top of the shoulders here. So we can do that one more time. We're going to release through the hands, swing a little bit, and then land somewhere at the traps. Make a little more subtle yes and no movements. See if that helps you release. Moving slowly. And then notice which hand is on top of which shoulder, and we'll just switch that. So inhaling, we'll release. And then find the opposite shoulder if you can. Which hand was on top, which hand is on bottom. And just subtle movements at the neck once more. Breathing deeply. We'll release that. And then, one more time, we're going to inhale those arms up. And the right arm stays up, the left arm goes down and grabs a hold of the strap if you need. If you can, bring the hands back behind you, keeping those elbows close to the head, close to the rib cage. Then you might be able to touch your fingertips. But if you're just able to touch the back of your head and the back of the sacrum, that's great too. Start where you can. We're focused on releasing through the hand that's at the bottom, that shoulder, so you can bring it up higher. And the shoulder at top as well, the elbow at top. Hopefully helps this hand just bend at the elbow so that the hand can go down towards the mid-back. You might have the straps at this point that you can get a hold of, and you could just slowly, with each exhale, maybe get a little closer. And once you find that sweet spot that you can hold on to with comfort and ease, we're going to breathe about 3 more breath cycles. And you can always release if this is difficult and you've had shoulder issues. But if you're really enjoying this nice stretch, go ahead and savor it with the breath. And as you make your last breath cycle, just releasing with the exhale. Let the top hand come on down gently. Let the left and right arms just rest gently at the side. And you can roll your shoulders. Do any movement that feels good. If you've noticed that your foundation at the feet are really tight, release, reset. We'll move to the other side. Once more, inhaling, stabilizing the foundation of your mountain and bringing up those arms. And I believe my right arm was up, so now I'm going to bring my right arm down. And we're just seeing where we can bend at the elbows. My right side this side is really tough for me, so my right arm, I'm lucky if I can get it back behind the sacrum on good days. Left arm can go down here, but just notice where you can go. Give yourself about 3 to 5 breath cycles. See if you need to use any props, or if you just need time and space, the help of gravity to get to where you are. No, I need the strap. Once you find that area, you're breathing 3 good, deep, long breath cycles. The inhale, slowly. That pause before you start the exhale, slowly. And then releasing with the very last exhale, letting the top arm gently float back down, letting both arms just release at the side, making any movement that feels good. Might be just gently swaying the head from side to side, front and back. You might be shaking out your hands. And at this point, because the legs have been working so hard, give yourself that one leg stabilizing balance. Bring the weight into the one side of your body and lift up the opposite heel and give yourself gentle, small rotations at the ankle in one direction and then the other. That might give you just a little more release. Bring yourself back to mountain, stabilize, standing weight to the opposite leg, lift the opposite heel, and small rotations in different directions. See if you've got a little more space in the ankle, in the hip, and hopefully that'll feel a lot better. Next, let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, so as we're cooling down, we're going to come into our butterfly position. You can do that from the chair. You can do that on the mat. If you don't know what you can do, then I suggest try the chair first. If you know you have really good open flexibility of hips, come on down to the mat. If it's still kind of tight, you might need to just sit on a lot of blocks. But if you start with the chair, what you're going to look at is just bringing the soles of the feet together as you bring the sits bones at the edge of the chair. So if you're on the mat, you'll go ahead and sit in your seated butterfly position and bringing your feet up. But on the chair or on the mat, we just want to be on the sits bones. So if you're in the chair or if you're on the mat, you want to feel where your thigh bone is sitting in the pelvis. You want that sits bone stability. If you're sitting more on the tailbone, you're going to round your shoulders, round the lower back. We want to bring the sits bones up. The pelvic tilt goes forward. It's almost like you're sticking your tailbone out just slightly. Because I have a gentle incline on here, I'm tending to go in, but we really want to be balanced at both sits bones, almost at this 90-degree angle, right at the hips there. So if you're on the mat or you're sitting up right here, then you can bring your soles of the feet together. So you'll probably start at a staff there if you're sitting on the mat, but you just bring the edge of the feet together. See if you can bring more of the arches closer to each other. And as we're doing that, we're just opening up the knees, letting them fall to the side gently. Then you might see about bringing the heels a little closer. If your knees are high up there, really tight, then just stay where you are. Focus on getting this base right here open where you can eventually bring more of the heels towards you as you're still maintaining this upright position. You're not rounding the back, you're not sitting on your tailbone. So that's the advantage to starting in the chair. And then as you open up more through the hips, then eventually you can make your way down to the floor. Now you ladies and gentlemen are in the butterfly on the mat, then you might just notice where your knees are, where your spine is. So just as our hips are really tight, if we need to have that extra height at the hips, it'll allow us to open up. So as you're sitting with the sits bones at the edge and then drawing the feet together again, might be really high up there. And you're just noticing how close you can bring the heels as you still maintain that upward position. If you start to have to round, you're a little too far. So sometimes your butterfly might have more of a diamond shape at the legs, and that's okay. You're just working on eventually as you're able to open up through the hips, bringing the heels a little closer, and you'll notice that the knees will fall a little closer to the floor, if not be supported by the floor at some point. But wherever you are, we're wanting to maintain the sits bones, upright position of the spine in that position, and lifting up. See if you can lift up through the sternum, nice and tall. Gentle tuck of the chin, feeling that crown of the head lifting upwards. And we're breathing. 5 good breath cycles here. If you found that you're where you can be, then you can start to gently curve at the shoulders and release. Maybe just the added weight of your arms can help you find a little more openness and release in the hips. If you have those blocks there, maybe you might be able to lower the setting after a few more breath cycles. See if the supportive role of the blocks can be changed to a lower setting. Sometimes you might find that change within the practice of that day. Sometimes it might be over a lengthier time. But stay connected to the body. Cultivate your inner teacher. Make sure you understand where the body is. All right. So after your last breath, as you're coming out, we just want to lift up through the chest, making sure our torso is back to center. And then we're going to help our arms up because we're a little, our hips, our knees back up to center. We can use our arms and bring the soles of the feet flat back onto the mat. We'll lengthen through the legs. And if you're on the chair, it's the same idea. Just bring the knees back up and see if you can bring the soles of the feet back onto the floor or at least the heels so your feet are just gently flexed. You can give yourself some gentle tapping at the knees. And for some of us, we're going to go in one more time. And sitting, reset your sits bones position once more. And then bring in your legs to your butterfly position. See if the second butterfly is able to get a little deeper into your position. And we'll hold it here for about 5 breath cycles once more. You can think about the inhales, bringing energy into the body. It's a great opportunity to scan for any tightness. Just notice how the body's responding. And on the exhale, see if something can release with a little breath. And after your last exhale, we'll come out once more. This time, checking to see if you need to bring the knees up, bringing the soles of the feet back to center, and lengthening through the legs once more. We'll go ahead and tap out the knees. And as we're moving into our very last pose right before Shavasana, we have an opportunity to move into our bridge position and then relax with a supported butterfly once more. If you don't want to do any more hip opening, you don't have to do the supported butterfly part. But having a good support to the back is excellent, even in our bridge position. So think about the soft, if you have 2 blocks and one's hard, you're going to want the softer block at about, the mid-back, somewhere in between the shoulders. And then the other block is going to be kind of supporting the head this way. So what we'll do is we're just going to turn just slightly, bring one block where you might think it might be. It's usually where you can set that down, and then put the other one at a T across there. And we're going to gently walk our elbows down, and you should hopefully feel that block at the mid-back. That's for the supported part. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. Just come on down to your base bridge position. And then once you're there and you've got the base of the skull, not the neck, but the base of the skull supported by that horizontal block, you should have that space at the neck. And hopefully you can make any adjustments that you need with that mid-back block that's flat. And then we'll bend our knees and come into that base bridge position here. And remember, if you're feeling anything in the mid-back that's pointy and sharp, you want to lift it up higher, get that off of there. You do have the mid-back at about where the shoulder blades are, nice and supported by that flat part of the block. So here we are in our bridge. Give yourself a deep breath in. And then on the exhale, we're just going to let the knees slowly drop to one side until they stop. What we're doing is just rolling to the outer right edge of our feet. Our feet position are not really moving so much as our knees are just dropping to the other side. We're windshield wiping to one side and staying there, savoring it. We're just allowing ourselves to have that just brief moment where the knees are suspended in air, or maybe they're on the floor, one knee on the calf of the other opposite leg. Not sure, but just let yourself relax, opening onto the right hand side, feeling that nice stretch all the way from the left rib cage through those side abdominal muscles, over the left hip, left quad. And then on the inhale, what we're going to do is help bring the knees up, really bring the sacrum to roll back onto the mat, bringing the knees back up towards the ceiling. And the sacrum should be nice and even back there. Arms can be out to the sides. Once more, we're going to inhale, and then exhale, let the knees slightly, gently float to the other side until they stop. Oh, and your shoulder, since we're windshield wiping to the left, your right shoulder might lift up a little. That's okay. It does not have to be on the mat. If it is on the mat, you'll just get a super long stretch, but if you have to lift it, let it lift. Taking one more breath in. One more deep breath out of the nose. And then we can inhale, help the knees and thighs come back to center, bring the sacrum back to the mat. And then here, you have the choice of bringing your feet into butterfly and resting for another few minutes in our Shavasana in an open butterfly, reclining like this, or you can, just from bridge, lengthen through the legs, one at a time or both. And don't be surprised if the hips are a little tented, if they're a little flexed. Give yourself some time. Maybe the calves are lifted. Maybe you just need to inhale, extend through the legs slightly, and then exhale, relax. Just let the legs melt into the mat. And you can stay in the supported position here, but you don't have to. If you don't like this, you can always remove the blocks. You'd want to remove the head block. Lift up slightly that right shoulder left so you can remove the mid block. And just lay flat on the mat if you prefer. And if you have that high space at the lower back, it might behoove you to put a little bit of support back there. Maybe you need that blanket rolled up. Maybe you need that space underneath the neck, supported slightly. If there's a lot of gap between the lower back or between the neck and that mat, you might just need that folded blanket. But as you're making your way into Shavasana, this is the opportunity for the body to respond to today's practice. So you just need to make sure you're comfortable, that's all. Maybe the palms are facing up, hands are down at the sides. The legs can be together and then just let the feet fall apart, or you can have the legs kind of separated further where the legs are pointing towards each corner of the mat. But just get nice and relaxed. Belly is soft. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth if it's there. And you can close the eyes if that's comfortable. If thoughts should come up, note them and let them go. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken from Shavasana. I'll be sitting up to mind the time. Bringing the mind back to the body, take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the heart. Notice how the air enters the body, how it moves through the body, finally how it exits the body. And then I invite you to make any movements with the fingers, toes, rocking body, limb, whatever, to help reconnect to the physical vessel once more. We'll go ahead and roll to the side, fetal position. Help yourself up with an arm or two, or making your way up in your preferred method. We'll meet in an upright seated position. Something nice and upright, sitting on the sits bones. It can be crisscross applesauce. You can sit in hero pose, sit on blocks. We'll be ending our class with our alternate nostril breathing exercise, which is just going to involve our hand positions. In the left hand, we have a chin mudra, hand position of an index to thumb. We're going to rest the back of that hand on our left thigh. The right hand is going to be in a Vishnu mudra. It's a hand position with the two fingers at the mount of the thumb. And we're going to close the right nostril with the right thumb, left nostril with the tip of the ring finger. But if this is too much on your hands, you can always just bring these two fingers to rest on your brow line. Close with the right nostril, right thumb, left nostril, right ring finger knuckle, or just do your best. So we'll go ahead and inhale deeply. Close the right nostril with the right thumb. Exhale through the left nostril slowly. At the bottom of the exhale, engage the core, draw the belly button to the spine, lift the perineum. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Last round. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. And then release the right hand. Release both mudras. Let the breath come back to its natural state. Bring both hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Center. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.